Wakili Danstan Omari, however, is having a conversation around what's happening with IEBC at 9 o'clock. But he's here and will join us in this conversation that we have today at this point. And Wakili, good morning.
Morning. How are you?
I am fine, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm fine.
You look perplexed. Why do you look perplexed?
No. I saw guys being paid 500 shillings to attend some function in Mukuru. I thought I'll be called. I'm complaining. I don't know whether my brother was
more.
One of the visitors.
It is 1,000. It's not 500.
Oh.
It is more.
I think I'll be going to court to seek for that money.
What are you talking about?
Honestly, I'm entitled as a citizen to be given.
500 shillings for what?
To attend a function. Here we don't get any fees to come here, but some occasions people are paid to attend. And the drama around here is that people want to appear that they are popular. But the reality on the ground is very different. But anyway, how are you? You're doing well?
I am all right. Oh my goodness. Yes, I mean I'm all right. And these are some of the things that we are looking at. I mean, we're going to look at the rule of law and in terms of what that does in about 15 minutes or so. So we're glad that you were able to join us in this conversation at this point. But before you came, we're looking at a number of issues around what makes it so difficult for us to detach ourselves from a situation whereby it is obvious that things are going wrong. And it is obvious that if you continue in this, you are likely to just hurtle towards the wall where you will crash. Why can't we detach from poor leadership? Why can't we detach from mismanagement? Why can't we detach from lack of accountability? Why can we not detach from all of these things? Interest, personal expediency when it comes to leadership. Why is it so difficult? Why do we keep wanting to vote in that one person who is, if anything, destroying things over and over again?
I think that question is valid because voter. Last time I was here, I explained that a voter is not a human being. A voter is a voter. They vote based on principles. They vote based on ethnicity. They vote based on that 1,000 shillings or 500 shillings. They vote outside what really they ought to vote for. And in the manifestos, very many things are promised that are going to be done. Voters are gullible. And these voters are gullible in the sense that some of them are shepherded into a political party where they believe that mtu wetu akiwa pale tutakula. Voters are gullible in the sense that lack of proper information of what mandate a government is supposed to do is not available. Voters are gullible because civic education, other than SpiceFM, Spice doing it, many media stations don't have time for civic education. So that ignorance of what a vote means is the reason as to why detachment from the people who, from day one, look that they are not having any interest to the nation, get elected. But I think 2027 is going to be very, very different because the type of civic education, the type of resettlement, the type of awareness Kenyans have now is that they now believe that the vote will count. Remember, it has never been very clear whether the vote of a Kenyan counts. People have always said that even if I vote, we know who the winner is, a rigging aspect. So I think in 2027, the debate now is, it shall matter. That one vote of Danstan Omari will count. And that is the message that Kenyans need to understand, that it will not be business as usual. The detachment was because, after all, what do you do?
Yeah. How do you know your vote counts, though? How do you know that you line up on that day, you go, you cast your ballot? How do you know that it actually counts?
It is our duty under Article 3 of the Constitution to defend the Constitution of the country. It is not only the government or the president that is mandated to defend the Constitution of this country. A vote is a constitutional document. An election is a constitutional process. And therefore, under Article 3, supplemented with Article 1 that says, we the people are sovereign. That is why people are saying now, we shall take care of the vote at the polling station. In the Maina Kiai case that decided that they vote at the polling station for the presidential election is final. So Kenyans this time will be at the polling station. It's not at Bomas. The polling station is where the elections of the president ends. And therefore, it is now incumbent upon Kenyans to take care that one polling station that you have voted for, to ensure that those votes are counted, they are pinned on, the results are announced, and they are pinned on the door of that polling booth. In my own view, I think 2027 is going to be a dramatic overhaul of what status quo has been to what Kenyans have been longing. You know, look at, it has even spilled to our neighboring country, Tanzania. Kenyans are becoming the pace setters in terms of defending democracy. And I also want to be associated that I strongly believe that the rule of law, the rule of democracy must be planted in every sector in this country for us to have meaningful development and a country that we can be proud of.
It's often said that keeping a people wrapped around bread and butter issues will make sure that they are not involved in citizen-centered governance. That if somebody is worrying about what they are going to eat on a daily basis, Wakili, the chances of me then being involved beyond a vote on that day about what happens is very low. And unfortunately, the majority of people are in that. How do we call on people who are dealing with these bread and butter issues? What will we eat today? How will we send our children to school? How will we pay the school fees that is owed? How will I pay my bank loan? How do we say all of those things are competing for attention, but then we need to be involved in governance as well?
You see that the politics of the retired late president of the Republic of Kenya, Moi, was based on butter and bread. Hoodwink people, bring water, bring food for them, bring yellow maize for them. At one time, Kenyans reached a point and asked that question, for how long are we going to do this thing? The same politics are now being played at this government, where it is about pay people to attend rallies, pay people to cheer you, pay people to appear that you are there. But the fundamental question is, the bills are to be paid on an hourly basis. You pay a bill for water, you buy lunch, you buy food, you take kids to school, you take them to the hospital, you need your clothing, you need airtime, you need transport. This question of bills will bring a serious revolution in the mind of a Kenyan. Because originally the bills were so few because government was working. Now when government does not work and you are supposed to pay, the very many people who have not been voting are feeling the pinch because every minute a text message, send me money, a WhatsApp message, your mother is unwell. Now the multitude that have never voted, this is the first time that we are going to see a voter turnout and a voter registration out of the annoyance. Everybody has been hit. That time, a few were hit by the economy. Now the economy has hit everybody. And that will be the clarion call to push Kenyans out of their cocoons, out of their bedrooms, out of their offices to register for votes. Let them register and vote. So I don't think 2022 will be replicated in 2027. The question in 2027 is accountability. Because people have been snatched money by the term called tax. Now they are asking, in 2027, account for this money taken from us. Previously, under Moi, under Uhuru, under Kibaki, there was less money being taken from people's pockets by KRA. Today, everybody feels the heat because the money is being taken left and right. There cannot be seen what that money is doing for. And that question of accountability is what brought the Gen Z to the streets. And that story, anybody who thinks that that story that brought the Gen Z to the streets has died is misguided. It is burning. The flames are getting more hotter and more firewood is being put by the blatant usage, that extravagant usage, that lifestyle of the people we have entrusted to use our money, the way they are living, the lagis that you are seeing, the type of shirts these people are wearing, the type of shoes these guys are wearing, the types of wristwatches they are putting on. It is an incitement in itself. I saw they want to charge a young member of parliament for incitement, that is Salasia, and I laughed. I said, the conduct of our leaders is what is inciting Kenyans to do what they are doing. It is because people are fed up.
And let me ask you, maybe to couple it up with that. No, I'm used to being on that side.
Yes.
It's very interesting to be on
No,
this side.
it's good. It's good.
You're wrong.
What is the alternative? And this is a question that is very deep. What is the alternative to the 500 shillings? And this I'm asking is, let's say Danstan Omari was vying for a seat somewhere, and you're in one place telling people these wonderful ideals that I believe is what the country needs. And then your opponent there, usually they come in untucked shirts, very uncouth, they are not as learned as you are, and they're giving 500 shillings. And what happens is everybody leaves your meeting and goes to the meeting where 500 shillings is being given. We are yet to find something that becomes the alternative to this 500, because it has become the almighty, the all-powerful 500 shillings. We have seen it yesterday or so. Let me not say yesterday, but we've been seeing it being given somewhere, and people are being told to claim that they are beneficiaries of something that is coming from the state. Yet we know they've been paid to say they are beneficiaries, and they are not. And I dare say that because we saw someone telling us that the abductees have been released. We are yet to see a home celebrating that their son is back. And we are yet to see an abductor who has been arrested, because if the abductees have been released, then the abductors are known.
Yep.
So as you tell us about what is the alternative to the 500? And yeah.
Well, one thing I must confirm is that if I'm contesting, let me confirm that I'll be contesting for the Nairobi senatorial seat as a senator for Nairobi. I will be in the ballot.
2027?
2027.
Okay.
I will be in the ballot. I will sell my manifesto that time. And my manifesto is almost what I'm going to tell you here. The people you have seen being given handouts in a constituency, the people who are given in a constituency of 100,000 people, the people who are given the handouts cannot be more than 2,000 people. Because it's the same crowd that goes round all over. They are employed. That is a form of employment for them to go round. Yes. The crowd you saw at Mukuru, the crowd you saw elsewhere, is the same crowd. Nairobi has more than 2 million votes. The people who are given handouts cannot be more than 500 or 5,000 people. These other critical mass, people in offices, people in serious economies, have never been given any coin. If you see the campaigns, for example, in Nairobi, who has ever gone to campaign in Lavington? Mm-hmm. Who has ever gone to campaign in Karen? Who has ever gone to campaign around here? People go to campaign in a slum where the masses and the votes in that polling station cannot be more than 2,000. Mm. So the message now is those who have never voted, and the last election, Raila got around 6 point something
million, yes.
So in total, there were 14 million voters.
8 million did not vote.
More than half did not vote. More than another 3/4 did not register. Because when you look at the KBS, the standards, the Kenya Bureau of Statistics, you'll understand that the people above 18 years who are supposed to have a vote constitute more than 40 million people. These people are now, this time, in my own perspective, 37 million people are likely to be registered. All these people, 3/4 will be new people who have been leaving these guys who have been given handouts to elect leaders for them. The people who are being given handouts have no income and they are not taxed. The people now who are taxed are coming to vote to defend their money, to defend their payroll. And that is why 2027 is a completely game changer. Those guys masquerading, carrying some money they have looted, dishing them out. Let them carry that money and go and dish that money at Kilimani. Nobody will be there. Let them carry that money to go and dish that money at Buruburu. Nobody will be there. The people now who are coming to vote, some have never voted. And that is why I'm saying 2027 is completely different. Let us not look at the politicians who think 2027 will be like 2022. In my perspective, the only way we can change this country is to use more spice, tell people that there is hope, register, and this is your country. Trump has made it impossible. We can never go to the US. We can't go any other country. We must remain here.
We can't also go to
Tanzania now, which was a safe haven. Shortly,
anymore.
very many of our people who have been doing business there will not be coming this side. Rwanda, a similar approach happened the other day. There is a cold reception. In Uganda, where we thought we would go, now is an Southern Sudan and all these countries.
Spice up your life.
Which is putting Kenyans that you really have got to be here. You really have got to fight for this country. Although the president of Tanzania calls it kuharibu, to us, it is development. Democracy is being rooted in this country. When you see the Standard every other day, the bold newspaper puts it as it is. That is the boldness Kenyans are looking for. That is the type of journalism Kenyans are looking for. Incisive, very, very, very critical, and waking up Kenyans to the reality that it is our country. It can't be anybody's country. We can't run away from it. We have a duty to defend this country. And the only way to defend it is a vote.
Wakili Danstan Omari is here with us. You can hear him, and we're going to take a break at this top of the hour, listen to the news, and we come back and we talk IEBC after this. It's 9:01.
Nairobi.
Kenya's biggest conversation this Wednesday morning, and we're going to start looking into IEBC issues and exactly what is going on and what the law says. Our guest is already seated. He is coming through on a previous conversation, and we're doing that in just a short while. But I want you to take a moment to imagine that through everything that you need to do when it comes to business to empower and support your tools, that you have a trusted ally by your side. Imagine that. That's the promise that I&M Bank gives to you, and it's saying it can turn your aspirations into reality. It could be a new business venture, it could be your child's education, it could be securing your future. Whatever it is, I&M Bank is here for you. So flexible financial solutions to personalized guidance. I&M is saying we are on your side, championing your progress and celebrating your successes. So don't just bank. Build your future with a partner who actually believes in you. Experience the power of on your side banking and find out more at any I&M Bank branch close to you. And remember all the time that I&M Bank is on your side. Wakili Danstan Omari has said, you know what? You have an opportunity when it comes to the next election to do something. That so long as you've been granted the opportunity, you can do it. But there seems to be certain cogs in the wheel every now and then that seem to slow us down. And those are some of the things that we're going to be looking into. Before that, I want to share today's proverb with you, Wakili, and we'd like to get your interpretation of the same. We're in Mozambique this week. CT would normally share that proverb with you, but he'll be back next week. But in the meantime, allow me to do that, right? The Mozambicans say that the leech that does not let go, even when it is full, will die on dry land. The leech that does not let go, even when it is full, will die on dry land.
Yeah. Know when it's time to quit. Don't stick till you become irrelevant. Don't force yourself on people when they are fed with you. Just know there's an expiry date on every product on the shelves of a supermarket. Once that reaches, just quit. You turn into poison. You turn into a toxic thing nobody wants to see. Indeed. And you will be dead on a dry land where there's no tree to even give you a shade
To latch
over
onto.
your. Thank you.
Let's go, because here we are. And right after the new year, we started hearing rumblings, okay? We were waiting IEBC since 2022. No constitutionally put together IEBC was in place. We had, after the election, Chirera 4 out. That meant that you had just a few left. And then the term of the chairperson came to an end. So he was done, and may his soul rest in peace. I'm not saying done from the job, and then unfortunately, health issues. And then we saw other commissioners who then their term expired. So essentially, for all intents and purposes, the commissioners who were needed to ensure the running of the IEBC then didn't exist. And then there were calls, they were push and pull, come on, because it was then that it needed to happen, that a new IEBC needed to be in place. And there needed to be a committee that was then constituted to say, all right, we are going to start calling for applications. We are going to start calling and start doing vetting for these individuals. Now, even at that point, we started having problems that even the committee that was supposed to now start nominating had Kasoro. And people were saying, okay, so what are we going to do about this? Because it's already partisan. So even those people that they will select will have a problem. We said, okay, no, everything is okay. We moved. Then they made the selection and the names were presented to the president. And waiting for the president to now say yes. And then from there, they would go back to Parliament, and Parliament would say, because the president had said yes, we say yes. But then somebody went to court and said, hang on a minute. These 9 names that you guys have given, a number of them have issues. And the court said, voila, you are correct. There could be issues here. So until such a time as when it is deemed that either these individuals have been cleared or 1 or 2 of them must be removed on that basis, for now, what is it? Vetting of those individuals is halted. What does that mean exactly?
Well, Kenyans...
Bearing in mind, Wakili, that we were told that by the end of May, there would be an IEBC in place. Meanwhile, the court is already being told that the general election for 2027 will be at stake. Why? Because the redrawing of electoral boundaries needs to happen with an IEBC in place. And now we don't have any of those things. Civic education, which is supposed to be ongoing, voter registration is supposed to be ongoing, which could happen without these individuals. But for all intents and purposes, this process that was going to lurch us into the next phase has been halted. Please.
Very, very, very fundamental to this question is that Kenyans need to understand the meaning and import of IEBC. Governments, that is the executive, headed by the president and his cabinet, the legislature, headed by the speakers and the members of parliament, both in Senate and National Assembly, come into office through a political process called a general election. This general election, Kenyans spoke loudly in on 27th of August 2020, Kibaki when he promulgated 2010, that the IEBC is an independent commission. The process of recruitment of the IEBC was spelled in the constitution. A select committee to be appointed. Then the select committee advertises for people who are qualified to be shortlisted and interviewed. Names are presented to the president. The president then approves the names, then sends those names to parliament for vetting. And once they are vetted, they are sworn in and they become commissioners. In all this process, constitutional safeguards were put in place to ensure there is no abuse of office or there is no interference with this process to bring in people who are cronies or people who are not fit to sit in the office because of the sensitive nature of the mandate of the IEBC. 4 commissioners were ejected in a manner that was very, very dramatic, in a manner that completely bordered on illegalities. I remember I defended them at Justice Mchelule's commission.
You refer to the Cherera 4?
Yes, I appeared and defended them. But the state had no ears. The state had only eyes. They saw, they never listened to us. They kicked them out. The three remaining commissioners were supposed to retire. They were allowed to serve and retire as per their term. The president, in his wisdom, did not institute processes to start recruitment of another IEBC commission. This being either one, he didn't know that that was his mandate, because if he knew, he could have started that. Two, the advisors, remember, this is the executive that has the largest number of advisors in this country. The advisors misadvised the president, or if they advised, the president ignored their advice. There was no steps to institute the process of putting in place the IEBC. Mm-hmm. When at last politics or Mandamano came in, an animal called NADOC, an informal thing of a discussion was initiated,
NADCO.
And the NADCO was born. In that, political interests were factored in, not national interests. It went to the shelf. When the handshake has come, the Baba and William Ruto's handshake, now we have a semblance of a select committee that was challenged in court. The select committee was not inclusive. The select committee was more tilted towards a particular achievement. That may be as it is. The select committee did the most interesting thing that has never been done in the whole world. Advert is done, people apply. Shortlisting is done. The most prestigious newspaper called the Standard, carried the name of the applicants and those shortlisted. All of a sudden, from nowhere, from the bush, new people are brought that these are also appearing for the interview. Then Kenyans are saying, you didn't apply. The timelines were set. How did you come to be in this list? The wrangles proceeded.
These were things that actually happened. There was a list that was published.
Yes.
But then suddenly, when the interviews are going on, then there's some 6 people who now were found on the list.
The final list of the names who have been presented to the president, these masqueraders are in this list. They were not there. So Kenyans have gone to court and asked, are we going to do things at the whims of somebody, or are we going to run this country arbitrarily without the constitutional safeguard? The judiciary has said, okay, hold on. Don't tell us about timelines. You knew about these timelines. Don't use the question of timelines to do illegalities. The courts have refused. And they have put a halt.
Actually, Wakili, you may also want to tell us, because we would love to understand as Kenyans, what goes on in the mind of a person who presents themselves before that selection committee, knowing very well that there is Article 88 of our Constitution that spells out who qualifies to be an IEBC commissioner. And they go there knowing that I am a public servant. I am sitting as the CEO of the political parties. Another one knows that they vied in the previous 5 years. They were on the ballot and they offer themselves. Shouldn't we have punishment for people of that kind? You wake up knowing very well that first and foremost, you are not qualified. So you waste taxpayers' money going before that committee. And you sit there and you go through an interview. And then the committee, even these members of this committee who forwarded the names, what was going on in their brains? Because you have read Article 88 of the Constitution, and in its plain, simple English, is saying that if you had vied in the last election, you're not qualified. And if you're a public servant, you're not qualified. This is not a public servant who we are guessing. They hold a state office that is known, that is so peculiar, that has so interacted with Kenyans, and they are offering themselves for that interview. Wakili, how do we deal with Kenyans of that kind?
Retired Chief Justice Emeritus David Maraga put this in a language that is very interesting. A regime that says utadu.
Yeah.
Utadu. I'm a public servant. I've been instructed to put my papers in because I'm assured I'll be a commissioner. The process has gone up to now. It is the court that has stopped them. So the question that needs to be answered in question, the people we have hired in that select committee, these people are paid by us. These people took an oath to defend the Constitution. These are the people who should be surcharged and should be arrested for abuse of office. I saw my good friend Natebeya being arrested and charged for abuse of office. Who has abused the office more than the select committee? Nobody will arrest them because the arrester and the one who appointed is one and the same thing. And that is why this country needs really to rethink and re-engineer ourselves. Are we going to have somebody taking our resources and bringing strangers? Let me tell you, that IEBC selection committee, they could have brought Rwandese, they could have brought Somalis, they could have brought Ethiopians, they could have brought Americans and forwarded them as candidates.
Why do you say that, Wakili?
I saw it during the time 2022 when principal secretaries, the position was advertised. And the cabinet ministers, the principal secretaries, another list came from nowhere. There was a first list, an advertisement was done, of 530 something people advertised. Another list again came of another 200. The list that made to be the principal secretaries is the second list. So this is a tradition, and this is a norm that we are seeing developing in this country. Do we need to advertise for a job?
If you know the outcome.
If the outcome is already known, if you look at the people who applied for the IEBC commissioners, that is not the best of the country. Because the best of the country have now said, you don't bother. Already the people, the position you are applying for, the people already are being inducted at the IEBC. They are already working. They are waiting to go through the conveyor belt for them to be sworn in. And that is the mystery that this country is facing.
For purposes of clarity, Wakili, what you're essentially saying here is that from the very beginning, it was known who the individuals would be who would sit, number one, even on the select committee.
Yes.
Number two, then those individuals who would be selected to be commissioners, who would be selected to be chairperson and deputy and CEO. That was known from the beginning. So we were fed towards a waste of resources, waste of time, waste of everything for the last 1.5 months. Is that what you're saying?
That is what I'm saying. From the inception of the select committee to the names to be shortlisted, to the names to be appointed, to the conveyor belt called parliament, where anybody can be taken to parliament, and the members of parliament only have eyes. They don't have ears. They pass. It's a conveyor belt, and somebody is sworn in, and you ask yourself, why don't we just allow the executive to handpick and swear these people in? The charade that we have faced is a charade of musical chairs. It makes no sense to apply for a job anymore in this country. The people are already in office before the advert is done. They are working. The only thing remaining is the normal procedures to appear to be that the rule of law and due process has been followed. And that is what we are saying. Is it now a replica that 2027, therefore, if these guys have been appointed through this flawed process, 2027, already they know who will be the president, who will be the deputy president, who will be the member of parliament, who will be the senator for Nairobi. This country needs to be very serious on how we make the lotto be perfectly done and be seen to be done.
I think Gen Zs have made a decision, and actually they're engaging and they're saying, and one of the things they decided is that on the voting day, forget IEBC, on the voting day, every Kenyan will be an IEBC official.
True.
And what they said, because the law is very clear, that what has been cast in this classroom, the results are supposed to be pinned at the door.
It's final.
So what Kenyans have decided, and I love Gen Zs for this and I encourage them to continue in that direction, is that they want to take a photo of what, if it's Olympic Primary School, class number 7A, these are the results. They will post it on all social media platforms so that those people who have been doing funny acrobatics at Bomas of Kenya will have no place to hide. Because the minute you announce, they tell you, wait a minute, we were in Olympic Primary School or we were in Jamhuri Primary School. And for that particular classroom, those were not the results. The results we have already shared everywhere. So Kenyans have decided to take vigilance to another level. So even as they elect IEBC, I think they need to realize that Kenyans have also decided to become an IEBC of some sort. And Kenyans have decided that they are also going to bring accountability mechanisms to another level. And so it will be very difficult for them to do this. And I like the challenge that the government was given. They were told, hey, look here, you can literally actually get all your brothers and sisters and put them there. But the votes in the manner and style in which they will be cast will be so many for the candidates they want or against the candidates they don't want. Now you have your own brother or sister telling you, ulini appoint me ni wenyu, but things are very different here. It's so hot, we can't steal. So, Danstan Wakili, tell us now, this matter goes to court. Do you think there was, don't you think it was deliberate on the part of the state to make sure that some of these people literally do not qualify so that we do not have an IBC?
There is the conspiracy theory that the sitting government has become completely paranoid in terms of the fear of the electorate. And they might not be wanting to meet the electorate on the year 2027. But the questions that are there, in the event that there is no election, what happens? The Constitution of Kenya envisages an executive lasting not more than 5 years. The only time the Constitution envisages is during the pendency of an election petition, the presidential petition, and the power must be handed over in a civil manner. This country cannot be run through an unconstitutional process. Governments in Kenya are created through a constitutional mean. That is the Constitution speaking. Nobody can form government outside the constitution of this country. So anybody dreaming that they can extend their life, anybody dreaming that there cannot be an election, those are wishes that will not see the day of the end of the day. Elections will be done, and the winner will be announced as per Mainakiai decision of the Supreme Court at the polling, that strip. Actually, not a polling station. The stream in a polling. I vote at Nyamira Primary School. There are around 20 polling booths.
Yes.
That one where I vote, the results of the president there is final. You don't need to compare to the next.
To the next stream.
To the next stream. And the Kenyans are now saying every Kenyan now is buying a smartphone. The question about formal news being coming from Bomas of Kenya will not be an S. Remember, remember the first time Baba contested, there was an attempt to set up a tallying center that was independent of IEBC. The state attacked it and destroyed it. Last time, there was almost a similar tallying center. For example, UDA had their own tallying center. Kenya Kwanza had their own tallying center, while IBC had their tallying center. And the president has come out very clearly that they knew they have won the results before IBC announced the results. So what is going to happen in 2027? The technological development is going to be the insurance that if you don't carry people to go to vote, you've lost.
Indeed. We're looking into then the intrigues around the IEBC, and we're just looking at things that have happened up until this point. So now that this case is before court, in terms of the petition that was brought by 2 private citizens, what happens next? And that's what we'd like us to go into as we continue with this going forward. Wakili Danstan Omari is in the studio with us today, and we're looking at, okay, the team essentially that decides or that oversees an election right now is in limbo. Electoral boundaries are supposed to be redrawn. That should have happened already, and they're already telling us that without an IEBC in place, we might have a space whereby the general election 2027 is at stake. Is it? According to the law? We'll come back and look at that. Good morning. It's 9:30.
Roby.
Where certain individuals who then have been passed essentially, and then names given to the president who would then send them back to parliament, they've said, there's something wrong here, and the High Court has said, well, let's halt this. What does this portend moving forward?
The quorum of the IBC the question about quorum went to the courts, and court said the IBC has a quorum when there are 3 commissioners in place. The judge is aware of the impending delimitation of boundaries. The judge is likely, I'm not discussing what the judge will do, but as a legal practitioner and a constitutional lawyer, the judge is likely to vet, to look at the names in terms of those who have no problems. If he'll find 3 names that have no problems, they'll be cleared to go to vetting, and they will be appointed as IBC commissioners. Then the work of the IBC will proceed. The others that will be found to have infiltrated the list and they have issues, the judge will recommend they will not be vetted. That is the Solomonic decision to save the country from completely putting the country into a standstill. But that is the judge's decision. I'll not interfere, neither will I influence the judge. But for the benefit of the public interest, that will be the best way to deal with it. If the commission chair is found to be wanting, still the commissioners who will go there will nominate a chair.
From amongst themselves?
From those ones who have no issues, they will run the IBC until the chair comes. Why do I say this? Because the chair of the IBC, there is always somebody, they sit and nominate who will be his deputy, and he does that administrative role. So that is likely to be the solution. But in essence, we are learning one thing. A country cannot be held at ransom because of the question of necessity. That you either take this water, because anyway, you are going to die. You better take it, but it has poison. The country and the judges are very clear. They will dispense justice without fear or favor, telling them this is an issue. I saw the same question over the BBI question. The same argument of necessity, the same argument that the country is collapsing. The judges stood firm and said the country must be governed by the rule of law. So the way forward, in my own view, Kenyans should not worry. The judges don't live in heaven during the night and come down on earth to sit in their courts during the day. They live with us. They know what is there. The judges are aware what happened in 2007. They were adults in that time. They saw how the post-election violence reared its ugly face. The judges are seeing how the political temperature has risen very heavily immediately after the 2022 election, and the need for certainty to be there so that Kenyans can do their businesses as they are. But the judges have a duty not to ignore the law, not to give the people who want to break the law a leeway to do that.
Wakili, what's your take on the delimitation of boundaries? We know it is past due. We know that time has passed. It's an IEBC responsibility. And now the IEBC constitution is in limbo. Though, by the way, when there is need to impeach a deputy president, it appears IEBC is duly constituted. But when there is need to delimitate boundaries, it becomes that the same IEBC is not there. What is your take on this? Should we go into the 2027 elections without delimitation of boundaries, or should the delimitation of boundaries happen? And if it should happen, what happens because it is actually time barred?
I gave a roadmap long time ago, 2 years ago, that the Attorney General should advise the IEBC Secretariat to move to the Supreme Court to get an advisory on the question of delimitation of boundaries. That opinion was later picked by the Attorney General, who left, Justin Muturi. He wrote again to the IEBC and told them, seek an opinion from the Supreme Court that this is the situation we are in. Give us a way forward. What is the basis of that advisory? In 2013, the Constitution came into force in 2010. The first election was to be conducted in 2013.
Yes.
It was supposed to be conducted in August. The government sought an opinion from the Supreme Court that schools are
in session.
The weather is hostile. They gave reasons. And the elections were pushed from August to December by the Supreme Court. It is not the first time that an election has been pushed by the Supreme Court. So the delimitation of boundaries, and that is why the people who have been heading the Secretariat should be investigated and be arrested for abuse of office and abdication of their mandate. By now, the limitation could have been done. I gave another opinion, which very few Kenyans agreed with me, that in all public offices, you don't vacate office without handing over to somebody. All public officers hand over their offices to somebody.
An incoming.
The Matiangis were left in office. The cabinet of Uhuru was left in office until Ruto's cabinet was approved. When there was a necessity for a cabinet meeting, the president called Uhuru's cabinet. He chaired it and they passed cabinet resolution to run the country. So my view then was that Chebukati and the two other commissioners, an advisory was to be sought from the Supreme Court that because we don't have who you are handing over, the Supreme Court allows them to be there as gatekeepers. In the unlikely event of anything, they can conduct an election. My brother, let us look at this. Today, the President of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency Dr. William Ruto, dies. God forbid. After one day or after 1 hour, his deputy, my own lecturer, Professor Kindiki, dies.
Okay.
The next person to take power by constitution is a speaker for 60 days. A general election must be conducted. There is no IEBC. What constitutional crisis is Kenya facing? Nobody imagines that can happen. It is a legal, a very serious abstract, but it can happen. Just so, the agency, when my client Gashawa was removed from office, it took only 3 hours for Kindiki to be sworn in. The argument was that in the event the president is incapacitated,
we need somebody,
or he dies, what happens? Yet at that time, the speaker was there. But the urgency of that constitutional crisis made Professor Kindiki to be, Gazette notices came around 10 of them. Within 2 minutes, he was sworn in. The country is sitting on a very dangerous ground. This country is ours. I said we are not going to Trump's country. This country is ours. that constitutional crisis. And that's why we are appealing that the court uses its wisdom, isolates 3 commissioners who have no issues. They be vetted and be sworn in. The remaining ones go to the
So there
process
really
afresh.
is no merit in this case. What we are saying, that rather than the whole process come to a standstill because there are 3 that have a question mark behind them, that you can actually allow the other 4 who may not have an issue to then go ahead for the purposes of having an IEBC in place for all of these other things to go on.
The JSC Act that deals with judges is the only act that says only one name is sent to the president of the CJ, and the president just endorses. In the IEBC Act, names are forwarded to the president. He decides who he will pick and forwards to Parliament. Therefore, there is a room for numbers. 2, the people who were left out, who had no issues, these ones will be removed. Those whose names were never taken to the president can be considered. Just like in Parliament, the list of nomination, if you are nominated, there's a list.
Yes.
They will check those ones who had done very well, but the names were only eliminated because of their ethnicity, because of their political inclination, because of them being very educated. The judges will say the list of the people, give us the list and the marks these people scored. These 3 forward to the president to nominate, to avoid another scenario of advertisement, interviews, and that. So the judge, I said, judges don't live in heaven, they live on earth. And they are hearing, and I'm sure the judges listen to SpiceFM. They are listening. The advisors from State House are listening. The country is listening. This is a very expensive legal advice I've given for free.
Okay, I think there's something, Wakili, that we would want you to tell us, because I've had people sentimentalizing the appointment of Professor Makau Mutua to be the presidential advisor on justice and actually on matters human rights, and we know him as a prolific lawyer. But how did it happen that we are paying 1 billion to advisors, and such names and such problems would still be announced from State House? What is Professor Makau Mutua doing? What are some of these advisors doing if names of people who literally are holding public office, names of people who have vied in the previous election would find him? And even what is the Attorney General doing? Because this is the principal advisor to the president. Why would they release such names and they have an Attorney General? Why would they release such names? Professor Makau Mutua, don't you think you owe Kenyans a refund? Because so far, the advice you've given legally is not helping the country.
My professor of law, a distinguished professor of law. The practice of law is quite difficult. There is the principle, the one instructing you. Like in this matter, my clients are my principal. I can advise them. This one will lead you to 10 years imprisonment. This one will take you to 5 years imprisonment. This one will acquit you. Then the person tells you, who told you I wanted to be acquitted? I want to go in for 10 years. So I take the advice of 10 years. The president has a battalion of advisors.
Yes.
It starts from those appointed, unknown to the public. It goes to those unknown, the NIS. The cabinet are presidential advisors. All media houses are advising their president. 55 million Kenyans are advising the president. It is the question of taking that advice. And the good argument is this: if you advise a client who is not ready to take that advice, you resign. You carry the burden. You carry the burden because you are being paid by us. You are not being paid by your principal. All the advisors of the president are employees of the citizens of the Republic
Of the nation.
of Kenya.
Yes.
And therefore, they owe their duty to us. If they are advising the president and the president is not taking the advice, they resign. If they are misadvising the president and the president is doing things that he has been advised wrongly, they have a burden to clear their names, and they will be surcharged for that miscarriage of providing advice. Lastly, are these people calling themselves, or who have been baptized the name of presidential advisors, do they have the capacity to advise? Advisory role is not how many degrees one has. Get it very clear. Advisory role in terms of advising a CEO, in terms of advising a president, is that you have a certain constituency you reach, and you pick the information of that constituency, which must be a majority, to take to the president. So an advisory role is not how many books you have read and how many theses you have written. You must have a constituency. You must have ground to the ear. The president is a political creature. The executive is created out of politics. So what is the employer wanting? For example, when you look at affordable housing, the question you ask yourself, have you seen anybody who in 2022 who voted, did those people come from their houses? Everybody came from their houses. Who told you that the houses they came from, their homes, are unfit? They have not asked for a house. An advisor goes to the public and asks them, what do you want? Not you saying, I know what you want. This government, the problem it has, in my mother tongue, it is called somebody who knows so much. In the Kiswahili inaitwa sijui Dr. Kimenyi. He knows everything. Don't tell me, I know what you need. Right now you need ugali. At 2, I know you need chapati. But it is me who is eating. Kenyans are not fools. They know what they want.
Maybe, Wakili, there's something that people are commenting and saying. Yes. They are saying that the delimitation of boundaries is going to bring them an extra. They call them MPs. It's going to bring them an extra
constituency.
MPs. Though, of course, we know the Constitution caps it at 290. I think it would be good for you to explain to Kenyans what delimitation of boundaries will do if in case it is done, and how that would benefit or how that would hurt the nation if it was done.
Delimitation of boundaries ni kugawa eneo za uwakilishi ili kuleta usawa katika uwakilishi wa watu. It is the way to distribute resources of the country. One, resources of the country is distributed by population factors. Some constituencies have more people
than others, yes.
Others have less people. So in delimitation, they are trying to say, here we want an even number, at least nearer. Not one constituency having 500,000 people, another one having 3,000. Number 2, the distance. Schools are going to be allocated in terms of a walking distance for a child. Some areas are so big that a school here will only serve Omari's children. The next family, Omari's neighbor, is 10 kilometers away. So they have got to look for a way to cater for the children of the other community. Third is representation. CDF is allocated equally per constituency. So the resources are going to be allocated in terms of that issue. Fourth, the wards. In a constituency, there are wards. And within the wards, there are provincial administrative units called locations, where the chief is, sub-county, nowadays they are called sub-county units. They will be allocated in terms of how the administrative and political boundaries have been made. The way the police work, they go in terms of constituencies, in terms of sub-counties, and in some in those areas. So police stations, police posts will be allocated based on that. Recruitment to government services, recruitment to the police, recruitment to the National Youth Service, recruitment to administration police, GSU, recruitment of the teachers is based on those boundaries. So the more the boundaries are, the more government services is brought to the people. The judiciary must have in each county a court. Now the judiciary transformational policy, each sub-county is supposed to have a court around there. So the resources of government under devolution move from the central government to the community. That is why delimitation of boundaries is very, very careful. But what do the politicians do? The wards where they have opponents, they remove them and take them to the other constituency. And bring where they have married from, where their grandfather married from, they bring that ward into their area. The governors do that. They remove opposition, bring... So it is more...
Can you actually just do that? It's as though you're playing Monopoly here, that you can just actually move people from one ward to the next. Is that what happens?
That's what they want, because actually some of the things they are saying is, some constituencies are literally tribal constituencies.
Yes, they are.
Like, we are this tribe, and if you move the boundary, you'll mix this tribe and this tribe.
Yes.
And those are the considerations that Kenyans are having.
Or this is a clan.
Or this is a clan.
Remove the clan that is against us and return the clan that is for us. And that is why it is very explosive. Delimitation of boundaries is a very, very explosive issue. And why the Constitution says it must be done, but it has limited the number to 290. Because otherwise, we could be having a constituency of two people, where the member of parliament and his wife are the only voters. Then he's safe to be re-elected. The sitting members of parliament, the sitting legislators are looking for friendly delimitation to chase off opponents. The opponents are looking for delimitation in a manner that will jeopardize the sitting members to lose their seats. Okay. It is a political process.
All right.
And this issue is so glaring, and you have seen the comments. Kenyans don't trust this process because today I know some wards where in every delimitation they are moved to another area.
So you're under a different area the next time.
You are under a different area. The next delimitation you are under a different area. So there's no continuity. 2, clans have been cut. Your mother's house is on this side, and you are here, the boundary passes here. You are in this ward, your mother is in this ward. It is so grave issue. Your grave of your parents will be on the another ward, your grave will be on the other ward. It is so sentimental, and it is a very explosive issue that needs to be done with a lot of transparency and justification.
One question that has come up very quite some this morning has been, and from a legal point of view, what would be the problem in having a former registrar of political parties as now a commissioner in the IEBC, according to the law? Why is there a grey area here?
The IEBC Act bars those who contested. For now, it might be a very bad law, but that is the law. It never expressly said that any former commissioner, like the Commission of Political Parties, cannot contest. But it's a moral question. And that is going to be decided by the courts. Is she conflicted by her being now an IEBC commissioner? All the dispute about political parties were before her. Is she knowing so much to the disadvantage of others? But that one, as I said, the law as it is, she has not committed any offense. She applied. There is no law that bars her from having gotten that. For example, you see the IEBC commissioner, former Isaac Hassan
Yes.
is now the IPOA commissioner. There is no law that stops you that once you have been in this position, you must retire and go home, die like that.
But actually, Wakili, allow me to indulge you a bit. Article 88 of our Constitution, and I'm going to read verbatim, Sub-Article 2 says, there is established an independent electoral commission and an electoral boundaries commission, that is Sub-Article 1. Then 2 says, a person is not eligible for appointment as a member of the commission if that person has at any time within the preceding 5 years held office or stood for election as a member of parliament or county assembly, as a member of a governing body of a political party, or holds any state office. So basically that the Article 88 is very clear. To be that if you hold a political office, I mean, if you hold a state office, any state office, you don't qualify.
You don't qualify.
And that's why we are saying that the register of political parties, it was actually bad manners for her to even present herself there because she knows she holds a political office and it is expressly stated.
No, she doesn't hold a political office.
No, a state
office.
A state office.
Yes, a state office.
So the question the judge will be defining is she a state officer? That according to her defense, as lawyers,
Yes.
you take your defense. She will be putting a serious defense
As to whether the registrar of the
she's
political
not
parties
a
is a
state
state
officer.
office. Okay.
Is a political party's office an office within the state? That will be the question to be determined. But I don't want to assist the judge or to give her advice because she has not hired me to defend her.
But Sub-Article 3 says a member of the commission shall not hold another public office. So it's still a public office.
There we go.
It is a matter before the judge. Let us not make this decision. But as I said, everybody has a right to contest, to ask for, but the law decides.
At the end of the
Are
day.
you fit or not? And the judges are going to decide on that.
Wakili Danstan, Omari, thank you for being here. Being gracious of you to shed light on a lot of these issues with us this morning, as we normally do. And we just want to about keeping these things front and center. Fanya Mambo Kinodhia, you've been a great sport. Thank you for being here as guest host this morning.
I tried being on this other side. It's really hot. It's easier to be on Danstan Omari's side. I love that side better. But I'm happy. Lucky, it's an honor. Thank you so much to SpiceFM.
Thank you for being here.
To the two of you, I'll be seeking your votes for Nairobi senatorial seat. And for all Nairobians, watch space. Your senator in 2027.
Watu wa Dagoretti South wanajua wanachagua.
Dagoretti South,
There it
my
is.
brother is here contesting. I will be relying on him when I will be coming to Dagoretti South. You'll take me to the ground.
There we go.
Nairobi, we need serious representation.
The time
Not
will
the
come.
type we have now.
Asante Sana. Good morning and thank you for keeping it the Situation Room. This Wednesday, it's now 10:10.